It's a cold evening here in Western Michigan. In fact, maybe the best seat in the house is going to be behind the wheel of a race car. Hi, everybody. Mark Allen and Roby Helm in our shirt sleeves. Don't ask us why. We didn't pack any warm clothing. Roby, let's warm things up a bit. What is the hot story here tonight at Hartford Speedway Park?
Well, Mark, the hot story is the points chase. Just 88 points separating the top 5 drivers, with Jimmy Mars leading, Brian Berghofer in second, Steve Francis third, Scott Bloomquist fourth, and the defending and two-time series champion Rick Eckert in fifth.
A couple of nights ago, there was a terrific race. Let's show you some of those highlights before we start the action here.
Actually, Mark, it started a few nights ago in Paducah, Kentucky. 50 laps, $10,000 to win. Point leader Jimmy Mars on the pole position. They go immediately 3 wide with Bloomquist in the middle. Terry English on the outside.
English took the early lead in this race. Track preparation is everything on short tracks. You get a good track, and this is certainly one here. You get this kind of racing a bit later in the action. Look at Jimmy Mars, all but in the fence, but behind him, it is a maelstrom of metal.
3 distinct grooves at Paducah International Raceway. There you see Wendell Wallace, Steve Francis in the Mopar machine. Terry English led every lap up to this point, but Scott Bloomquist looking for the bottom, seeing if that'll work for him.
And it did. Bloomquist took the point. English by no means was ready to give it up. 2 grooves, that's what you want to see when you're a race fan, and people who prepare the racetrack love it too. Bloomquist obviously finds the best groove there, but English says, now wait just a minute. A bit further back in the pack. All sorts of action. You like good close quarter action? Well, maybe Don O'Neill in the 71 didn't want it this close. Kept it cocked in the right direction, but he was far from finished. Gave the fans quite a show.
Battling with Randy Cordy on the bottom. Cordy had a mishap before he even got to the racetrack. Making the turn down the road to the racetrack, dumped his rig on its side.
Oh dear, that's not the kind of problems you want. Now look at O'Neill. He used up every inch of the racetrack plus a little bit more and still kept it cocked in the right direction. Meanwhile, Scott Bloomquist, he's got it hooked up. He goes on to take the checkered flag. His 92nd career Xtreme DirtCar win. Great battle all the way through the top 10 as the checkered flag fell. But then Kankakee, Illinois, a couple of days ago, this was crazy right from the green.
This is a wild quarter-mile racetrack. It's the 17M. Dale McDowell, he threaded the needle off of 2 to take the early lead. He's got O'Neill behind him.
You would think that on a track of this size, passing would be difficult, but that was hardly the case. However, when there's trouble on a track this size, it's trouble with a capital T, as happened here in turn 4. It collects the points leader, Jimmy Mars, and Scott Bloomquist.
2 title contenders out of it, just like that. It happens quick on this racetrack. Bloomquist headed for the pits.
And a sight no driver likes to see, his car is aiming east, his right front tire southeast. And when we went back to green, it just kept getting better.
Don O'Neill trying to make his car work all over the racetrack. Watch this on the bottom.
That is what you call taking a set. And he wasn't done doing it. As McDowell looks back to the outside, O'Neill in very heavy traffic. Look how that car gets biting right there, and he shoots off the second corner. That's hooked up. He went on to win the race. Now that brings us back to the action tonight. We're hoping it is every bit as good as that. The first heat will be polled by Dale McDowell, the Ringers Gloves fast qualifier. He set fast time. He gets the pole position, but to his right, lurking, Scott Bloomquist. And the question everybody was looking to answer early on was which lane would be the fastest.
Scott Bloomquist answers that in the early heats. It's the outside.
And Scott Bloomquist carried that outside starting position to win that first heat and earn a spot in the Action Performance Dash, which will come up just a little bit later. It's in the 40s here, but at least these people know how to dress. We'll be back. This race is brought to you by Lucas. They started the second heat. Drivers had already seen that the outside lane was the quicker of the 2 slots, but the pole sitter, Steve Francis, washed up the racetrack. Donnie Moran jumped to take the advantage. Matt Miller, the top rookie contender, had second just for a split second before Steve Francis jumped back into position to challenge for the lead, and that's just how much action there was in the first 15 seconds of that heat. A little bit later in that second heat, everybody's doing just fine going through turns 3 and 4, but we're not lagging back here because of bad camera work. That's why. That's Rusty Schlenk.
Back to green flag action. Donnie Moran still using the outside groove in the QPI Tools Dirt Ripper machine. He'll come down and take the checkered flag and win heat race number 2. He's on the inside of row 2 for the Action Performance Dash.
The third heat, our 2 points leaders on the front row. Jimmy Mars, the pole sitter. Brian Burkhofer to the outside. Dan Schleeper is that black and red car to the inside. And once again, the outside line quicker on the jump. But Dan Schleeper, he's a driver who's not afraid to drive it hard. This time it was a little bit too hard into turn 3. And had some company going around behind. Here's another look at what happened. He had to crack the throttle, otherwise he would have drilled Jeep Van Wormer. That put him at the back of the Consi.
Brian Burkhofer working the outside, still the way to go here at Hartford Speedway Park. He'll win heat race number 3 to earn the outside front row starting spot for the Action Performance Dash.
The fourth and final heat of the evening was the best one, and this showed that this track may be rounding into a 2-groove speedway in time for the feature. On the outside is Steve Shaver, on the inside is Rick Eckerts.
Steve Shaver just outside the top 10 of the point standings, has gone through a series of some bad luck in Xtreme DirtCar Series action. I was talking to him just the other day, and I asked him if they were still playing that Pink Floyd tape to the races that they listen to all the time. He says, you know, we haven't listened to that for about a month and a half. Maybe we need to listen to that to change our luck. He was listening to the Dark Side of the Moon before this heat race.
And Rick Eckert hasn't exactly been setting the world on fire ever since East Bay Nationals, when he won 2 of the 3 races. Last season, he only failed to complete 3 laps. He gave up all of those in just 1 race at Gastonia, which was a real slugfest, a race that you saw here on Speed Channel. Eckert did just about everything he could to get to the point, but it seemed obvious that maybe by just a couple of feet, that outside lane was a little bit quicker. And then just a couple of laps before the checkered flag shows you how close to the edge they drive, sometimes to it and over it. He slugged that wall hard, and then decided maybe it's just better to settle back and let Mr. Shaver win that 4th and final heat. Eckert will start a little bit further back in the field. Shaver goes to the feature Action Performance Dash. This was the second Consi race and the best one. Schleeper started at the back on the very first lap. He's already picked off 3 cars. A couple of laps later, he picks off another one, but he's still outside the feature, staring in. He was in 3rd place, needed to get up to 2nd.
Around the outside of Rick DeLong, and Schleeper's in the show.
Hard work to this point, but then he gets a gift. Jeff Smith, the Consi leader, throws a belt, pulls off the speedway. Schleeper ends up winning the 2nd Consi. He'll start well back in the pack, but he's in the show. Fans are all revved up because they know that the Action Performance Dash is what is going to set the first 2 rows. Steve Shaver has the pole. Brian Burkhofer will start to the coveted right of him. That seems to be the fast lane. We'll find out if it is in just a moment. Scott Bloomquist and Donnie Moran in the next row. How they finish here is how they'll line up in the first 2 rows of the feature. The green is out. Brian Burkhofer, a tremendous jump.
From the start-finish line to the first turn, Shaver's all the way back in 3rd.
Bloomquist is in the 2nd spot, and I wonder how hard he's going to try to pass Burkhofer if that 2nd lane, that outside lane, is quicker, Roby.
Well, it doesn't pay any extra money. Each driver in this dash gets $100 from Action Performance, so it doesn't pay any more to win. So he may be doing just that, setting himself up for the start of tonight's feature event.
And whatever Steve Shaver did to his car to prepare for the dash, it is not working. He has fallen to a distant 4th.
Donnie Moran's riding in the 3rd spot in the 99 car. Scott Bloomquist really not putting the pressure on Burkhofer, and Bloomquist doing a little groove hunting out there. Went in high, Tried to drive down and dime in that second turn, as Scott Bloomquist has been known to do at many tracks around the country.
And he also may be paying more attention strategically to what he's going to do in the feature, trying to find out what may be a better line if there is more than one around this track. We saw moments ago Rick Eckert ran very well at the bottom of the track, but on this last lap it looks like Donnie Moran is going to finish in the third spot. Bloomquist appears content in the second position. He'll start outside front row, but Brian Berkhofer has earned the pole, his third of the season. And we'll be back with the grid in the green after this.
Have you ever driven stick before?
No.
Okay. Let the clutch out real slow and give it a little gas.
Franklin talked with him.
Brian, starting on a pole tonight, you've been Mr. Consistent all year long. You gonna be able to pull one off tonight?
I don't know. We've kind of struggled at the televised races, but we're on the pole here, and got Scott Bloomquist beside me. I've just got to drive 50 smart laps here. It's a big track. I like big tracks. I don't really know what the track condition's going to do, if it's going to rubber up or not. So we just got to keep plugging away here and try not to make any mistakes in lap traffic.
Well, that's always the case with any driver not wanting to make a mistake. Scott Bloomquist on the outside of the front row, and Mike Franklin caught up with him before he climbed aboard his race car.
Yeah, you know, I think we were real good in that heat race. It's a little bit difficult to follow through with the pass right now. We were a little bit tight for the bottom. Want to make a few adjustments so we can run the bottom also. Then we're starting on the outside. That's actually where I wanted to finish. So pretty happy right now.
And that could be bad news for everybody else. 50 laps, 24 starters, double file restarts if we have cautions. You've met the front row. Now let's meet rows 2 through 4 in their own words.
Hi, this is Donnie Moran, driving the QPI Total Dirt Ripper. We're starting third tonight.
Hi, I'm Steve Shaver from Parkersburg, West Virginia. I drive the Bill Bland Motorsports number 0. We start fourth tonight, hopefully finish up first.
Hi, I'm Dale McDowell. I drive the number 17M Larry Shaw Dover Cylinder Heads race car, and I'll be starting fifth tonight.
I'm Steve Francis, and I'll be driving the Valve Lane Mopar Rocket Chassis house car, starting sixth tonight.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Myers. I drive the 28 Masterbuilt, and I start seventh tonight.
Hi, I'm Rick Eckert. I drive the 24 Rayfest car, starting at eighth.
And because they didn't do it, we'll do it for them. Brian Berkhofer, the Soybert Cap Ranches Chevrolet, and Scott Bloomquist, the Miller Brothers Cole Ford Taurus. Rows 5 through rest of the field, Randall Chupp from Mooresville, North Carolina, the Biscotti's Restaurant Pontiac. Matt Miller, the leading rookie candidate in the McCullough Motorsports Pontiac. On row 6 is Rusty Sieber from Stanton, Michigan, the Nate's Auto Sales Chevrolet Monte Carlo, and Jeep Van Warmer from Peconic, Michigan, the Bayline Fire Protection Ford Taurus.
In the 7th row on the inside is Darren Miller from Chadwick, Illinois, in the Soybert Calf Ranches Ford Taurus. Alongside him, Jacksonville, Florida's Earl Pearson Jr., the Lucas Oil Dunbenson Ford Taurus. Row 8 on the inside, Sean Tozak from Hebron, Illinois. He's in the Jet Racing Chevrolet Monte Carlo. To his outside, Chris Patterson out of St. John's, Michigan, in the Lane Automotive Ford Taurus.
Starting on row 9, it's Rick Auckland from Zanesville, Ohio, the Ostrom Painting and Sandblasting Pontiac Grand Prix. Dan Schleifer from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Miller Brothers Cole Chevrolet. Row 10, it's Ted Loomis from Kingston, Illinois, the Reber Towing Chevrolet, and Rick DeLong from White House, Ohio, the DeLong Racing Pontiac.
11th row on the inside, it's going to be Ace Ive from Hazel Green, Wisconsin, the Hawkeye Boat Sales Pontiac Grand Prix. To his right, Rand Gorey from Delta, Ohio, the Clean Bore Pontiac Grand Prix. And to the 12th row on the inside, Jeff Smith from Dallas, North Carolina. He's in the Diecast Digest Magazine Starrett Trucking Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Rounding out the field, Reese O'Connor from Kankakee, Illinois, the M&R Wrecking Kankakee Motor Speedway Ford Taurus.
And just a reminder, if you weren't with us at the top of the show, the points as they come into tonight's race as the drivers break out of the 4-wide salute to the fans. Jimmy Mars is up by 37 markers over Brian Berkhofer. Steve Francis, Scott Bloomquist, and Rick Eckert are right there in the middle of the hunt.
Earl Pearson Jr. leads the next 5. He's just 129 points back. 99 champion Dale McDowell and Donnie Moran battling for the 7th spot.
Now on board tonight with Jeff Smith, the Diecast Digest Magazine's Chevrolet. He's starting in the provisional position, so we should be expecting a lot of action from our onboard camera tonight. We're all set to go. The drivers are ready. The fans are on their feet. The green flag is out. We are underway. And it does look once again like that outside lane is the preferred groove at the start of the feature.
It's still working as Burkhofer slides up in front of Steve Shaver to hang on to the second spot.
And if this is your first Xtreme Dirt Car race, we'll give you names and numbers to get yourself acclimated. And that's if you had a seat right down trackside, that's what you'd see. This is not for the timid. Dale McDowell through the middle. To the outside is Donnie Moran. And oh boy, a little bit too high. And that was a little bit more drama than he wanted, as the 24 of Rick Eckert next to the series points leader Jimmy Mars in the 28.
Behind them, things heating up. Earl Pearson Jr., the number 1 on the inside. Randall Chupp in the middle. The black 55 Jeep Van Wormer on the outside.
If you think you saw Donnie Moran loose a couple of moments ago, your eyes were not playing tricks on you. This came very close to being an incident, but two veteran drivers kept their wits about them. Scott Bloomquist started on the outside. We speculated that that might be the fast way around this track. It proved to be in the heats, but meanwhile the battle for third is a high-low duel. Steve Francis and Steve Shaver.
The Mopar machine of Francis running the high side. Shaver tucking in behind him down the front straightaway.
Francis has been one of the most consistent finishers all season, but has yet to go to victory lane.
Dale McDowell up running the top 5 in the 17M car, the 1999 series champion. Here's the point leader, Jimmy Mars on the inside. Oh, a little contact coming off of 4.
That seems to be one of the exciting spots in the track. We saw Rick Eckert get a little loose up there and try to knock down the fence in his heat race. McDowell has been to victory lane, as has Mars. Problem is McDowell has had some mechanical difficulties, and except for that last race at Kankakee, Jimmy Mars has been able to run pretty much clean.
The outside seems to be slowing down a little bit, Mark. We've noticed drivers working the middle of the racetrack, as Jimmy Mars is in the 28.
From a few moments ago, did they massage Mars and McDowell? Oh yeah, not bad, but still a little bit of body work required for Jimmy Mars' crew after the race to get that right rear quarter panel back straight. The 99 of Donnie Moran being chased by the 7 of Matt Miller, the leading Lucas Oil Rookie of the Year candidate. Neither driver has been to victory lane yet. You would expect that of a rookie, but not of Donnie Moran. Just right after the start of the race, this was the confrontation, the view, if you will, that Jeff Smith with the Diecast Digest magazine onboard camera had as he's trying to work his way forward. And that is not for the timid, folks. These cars are circulating this track at almost 120 miles an hour down the straightaway. We'll be back with more from Hartford Speedway Park after this. Took the lead from the get-go and has held it all the way through the early portions of this race. Because of weather and some other races, they've been on the road for 4 straight weeks, and we talked with Donnie Moran about the grind.
I'm the boss, you know, and I'm the owner, and also it's like the guys working for you, you know, you got to be their friend because you live with them, and then you got to be their boss, and, you know, all of the above, and, you know, you got to keep after everything. So it's a lot tougher than a lot of people think.
In the last 30 days, these guys have run 8 Xtreme Dirt Car Series events, including tonight's race, plus the Show Me 100 in West Plains, Missouri. Our race leader, Scott Bloomquist, won that race as well.
And pocketed $37,000 for that win, as well as winning Monday in Paducah. So he is having a pretty good week, which may be the understatement of this show. Brian Burkhofer having a pretty good year. 2nd in the series points, 2 wins, very consistent throughout the year. Really hasn't had the inevitable ups and downs that seem to have hit most of these teams.
And that's what it takes to win a championship. And Brian Burkhofer has never run for a series championship before, but he has told me if he's going to win a championship, this is the one he wants to win.
He's also a very good driver on big racetracks like this one. Grew up in the Midwest on tracks of approximately this size, so he's very comfortable running very fast speedways. Some drivers, quite frankly, are not.
Well, Brian Burkhofer comes from Muscatine, Iowa. His 2 home racetracks are the West Liberty Raceway, Big Half Mile, and Davenport Speedway. Here's the battle for 10th. Jeep Van Wormer in the 55 car. One of the local favorites from nearby Peconic, Michigan. He won a UMP Super Nationals race here last year.
And Dan Schleeper started 18th, has picked up 7 positions already, one of the candidates for the Advanced Auto Parts Hard Charger for the driver who advances farther forward than anyone else from his starting position. But talking about advancing forward, Burkhofer has caught Bloomquist, and they have caught lap traffic, and this is where it will start to get interesting.
All that groove hunting these drivers have been doing, it'll come into play here. How can they get around these lap cars? Ace Syme right in front of the leaders as he's battling for position with Ted Loomis in the 23 car. Burkhofer saw an opening on the inside. He sees it again in 3.
And this is our first battle for the lead. Burkhofer has got it, but it's not official unless he carries it to the start-finish line.
Burkhofer still on the bottom of the racetrack. Ace Syme in front of him in the 11 car. Bloomquist looking to the outside.
And at the line, give it to Burkhofer by a nose. But 3 wide into 1, that can't work. It plays to Bloomquist's advantage, and he retakes the lead. Can Burkhofer do it again? But no, he's got bigger problems than that. That is Steve Francis in the Mopar Valvoline Dodge. Bloomquist has now opened up a nice little advantage. He is at least aware that Burkhofer is his equal in certain portions of the speedway.
Ace Syme still between Bloomquist and Burkhofer. Berkey diving down to the bottom of the racetrack, and if you like the battle of the brands, we've got it here. Ford leading a Chevrolet with a Dodge in 3rd.
And the manufacturers do pay attention to this series. Let's take a look again at that terrific action when the lead changed hands.
Looks like Bloomquist might have got a little bit of a throttle push about midway through the corner. Recovered from that, steps back to the outside of Burkhofer. They still haven't got by the 11 car of Ace Syme.
Bloomquist to the outside, which is where he seems to be the quickest when they're 3 wide there. Something's got to give, and Burkhofer looks like the discretion was the better part of valor. He lifted. That allowed Bloomquist back in front, but Burkhofer, I'm sure, learned something about his car and the speedway by that move he made to take the lead briefly.
And now Scott Bloomquist has got back down to the inside as he leads Burkhofer. Francis in 3rd. Steve Shaver running 4th with Jimmy Mars, the point leader, in 5th.
Steve Shaver has to be thinking about what does he do in this situation. As Loomis was to the high side, Shaver had little choice but to lift ever so slightly. Otherwise, he would have slid him right up into the outside wall.
Ted Loomis getting a front row seat of all the action here tonight.
Now remember, these cars, if you're new to the series, do not have mirrors, nor do they have two-way radios. So these drivers are very much their own warriors on the battlefield.
Drivers are beginning to move down the banking. They started out running around the top of the speedway tonight, and now everybody seems to be looking down towards the inside of the track as we're on board with Jeff Smith.
In the Diecast Digest magazine's onboard camera, he's coming up on Rick DeLong. Listen to how he's working the throttle. This is not just mash the gas and go. This is very much feathering the gas, working the brake pedal as necessary. This is a very fast speedway. There's a lot of rubber down, and oh, we've got a car slowed to the bottom of the racetrack. That looks like Dale McDowell, and it has brought out the caution for the driver who had a terrific run in the Show Me 100 last weekend, but not having such a good run in the Xtreme DirtCar Series this year. We're under caution, and we'll be back.
Madre de Dios, where civilization ends, and you can enjoy solitude like no other place on earth. Because Madre de Dios is uninhabitable.
Are you tough enough to drive a Tacoma?
You have the ultimate power to look better, to be stronger, to redefine your body and yourself. Introducing the Bowflex Ultimate. Quite possibly the best home fitness machine ever made. In as little as 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week, you can get real results that can change your entire body. With over 90 health club quality exercises and up to 410 pounds of resistance, it's like having an entire gym in your home. Bowflex is so effective that we guarantee you'll get the results you want in 6 weeks or less. Own the new Bowflex Ultimate with no money down and monthly payments lower than many health club dues. Call and ask for a free video or DVD and check out the entire Bowflex lineup or visit us on the web at bowflexultimate.com today. The new Bowflex for ultimate results.
This Saturday on Speed, live Formula One qualifying for the French Grand Prix. Brand-Am Cup gets high speed on the road course at Fontana. Live NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series racing from Kansas. That's all this Saturday, only on Speed.
We're under caution at the Lucas Oil 50 for Dale McDowell, who is going on the hook. His night is over.
If you'd like to see live and in person Xtreme Dirt Car Series action, Wayne County Speedway, July the 8th in Orrville, Ohio. The next night, Sharon Speedway in Hartford, Ohio, right on the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. Then it's KC Raceway, Chillicothe, Ohio on July the 11th, and Hagerstown Speedway, Hagerstown, Maryland, July 26th.
And since we have a few moments, let's spend some time with our series points leader, Jimmy Mars. Jimmy, how surprised are you to be the points leader given how small an operation you've got?
I consider our operation to be top-notch for what we have to work with. We might not have the most money in it, but we do have good equipment. We have a real good team. I'm not real surprised. We've had tough luck before, and so far we've been pretty fortunate with the way everything's been running this year. But we got to win some more races, and we got to make sure we can stay running consistent and not have any too much bad luck. Or if we do have some bad luck, we can rebound the next race as good as we can.
You were a title contender last year for much of the season before fading a little bit at the end. What did you learn from the title stretch run last year that you're trying to apply this year so that you don't fade toward the second half of the season?
Oh, we definitely, probably about the middle of last year, we had some bad luck. Took us out of a couple races, and we tried to maybe be a little more aggressive with our setups than what we probably needed to be, and I was probably a little more aggressive in the car sometimes than I needed to be, and we made some mistakes, and that's what hurt us. We're just trying to learn from what we did last year and improve on our chassis setups, and I try to improve on my driving and on the racetrack, and just be a little smarter there, and just every year get a little more experience on running this whole deal.
We see Jimmy Mars at the racetrack being pretty much all business, but once you take the helmet off and the night is over, who is Jimmy Mars?
Oh, pretty much the same person. I like to have a good time. If I couldn't have fun doing this, I definitely want to do it. Sometimes I kind of lose perspective of that and get taking it too serious where I don't enjoy it like when I first started racing. But I'm pretty much the same person. It's just after the race, I get a little bit more relaxed and just goof around and probably act stupid like everybody else tries to have a little fun, I guess.
Tell us who the real Jimmy Mars is.
Jim Carrey, really. He's kind of a fruity acting guy. We're real similar, I guess. That's why we probably hang out a lot, because we both got the same mentality and like the same stuff. And just laugh at each other all the time, I think.
And the two teams travel together. They're first and second in the series points. There may be a lesson there. When we come back, the green flag comes back out. Stay with us.
Think it's impossible to paint plastic? Think again. Introducing Krylon Fusion, the revolutionary paint that actually bonds to plastic on a molecular level. Without any sanding or priming, its unique formula provides a smooth, professional finish that won't flake off. Krylon Fusion, the no-prep super bond paint for plastic.
Saturday on Speed, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series
we got trouble.
takes on Kansas. The O'Reilly Auto Parts 250, Saturday 2 Eastern, only on Speed.
Every day. It is hot on that roof.
You've got a satellite system? Weak. I've got digital cable with high-speed internet. Man, it's fast.
You can do high-speed internet, right?
I just need about $500 more in equipment, a third-party provider. And I can't promise you I'll be as fast as cable, but that's a great idea.
Let's go to your house. Yeah.
For the best value in home entertainment, upgrade to Charter Digital Cable and Charter Pipeline high-speed internet service. Call today.
My name is Paul Soder of Paul Soder General Contractor. I've worked in the Worcester area since 1982. You have to have the quality behind your work in order to stay in business and be in business today. The quality of Plywood Plus materials are...
File order, Roby. Why?
During the caution, several of the front-running drivers stopped and talked to Greg Martin down on the front straightaway, the technical director for the Xtreme DirtCar Series, and he explained that the track, the drivers were saying the track is rubbered up and has locked down, and that means that just one groove out there in which you can go fast, and they've all found it. And you get out of that groove, you slow down about 2 or 3 tenths of a second. So therefore, they decided to go single file rather than to have a guy on the outside risk losing several positions or cause a crash trying to get back down to the bottom.
So as much a safety factor as anything else, has everybody back up to speed, but now we're seeing some double file racing back in the pack as Dan Schleiper in that S9 and Jeep Van Wormer, as well as Randall Chupp keeping each other company. Just past halfway, Hartford Speedway Park, a big half mile. They call it a half mile. It feels a lot more like a 5/8, which would put it just about the biggest track that the Xtreme DirtCar Series visits all year.
One of the regulars here told me earlier that they say this is a 7/16 mile racetrack, but I don't know. I think it's a little bit bigger than that.
Our Speedy Cam providing these pictures. We're going to hope it survives the entire race. It did not. At Tunica, if you were with us there, Darrell Lanigan decided to rip it down off the outside wall. The next time we see him, we're going to present him with the bill. Maybe Scott Bloomquist will help pay for it. He's on track to win tonight's winner's check. He has opened up a nice advantage over second place Brian Burkhofer. That's Steve Francis. Francis has been running third pretty much the whole evening. For just a couple of moments, gave Burkhofer something to think about. Francis still trying to pick up that first win of the season. Sits third in the series points. Scott Bloomquist is fourth. He's made a strong rally in the standings after missing the first race of the season down at East Bay Raceway Park. Back on board with Jeff Smith, the Diecast Digest Magazine's onboard camera. He has slowly been picking off cars, picking up a few positions as some drivers have retired from the race, but he too appears to be one of the candidates for the Advanced Auto Parts Hard Charger. This gives you a sense of how he is working the throttle going through the corners. And just there is able to pick up the throttle.
That's an example of the different grooves. Everybody down on the bottom is able to pick up the throttle a little bit earlier than where Jeff Smith was running in the middle groove of the racetrack. Is Dan Schleiper, who started 18th, up battling for 10th with Jeep Van Wormer, working that inside groove.
Van Wormer owns this racetrack. He has won 5 major events here in his last 6 starts. A little different situation tonight. A reminder that our next television race from Cedar Lake Speedway, the Masters, a whole new format. This is truly an all-star format, also an elimination race. If we've got some time, Roby, explain just very briefly how this is going to unfold.
It's going to be run in 3 different segments. We're going to start 26 cars in segment 1, whittle it down to 18 in segment 2, and then 12 cars will battle 20 laps for $20,000. A non-points race, an all-star race for the Xtreme DirtCar Series. And another wrinkle that'll interest the fans is they're going to be inverting each of those segments. So the winner of the previous segment not necessarily will start on the pole position. They'll have a fan come out of the stands, spin the wheel of fortune, and who knows, it could land on inverting the entire field.
Meanwhile, Scott Bloomquist, our race leader here, and we talked with him earlier about things he had to take into account setting up his car for tonight.
Depending on how wet it is, that probably means more than anything. You know, we might lower our spoiler on the back of the car. You know, we may end up, depending on the conditions. Again, not necessarily always the size, but the conditions. You know, we probably have to up the spring rates a little bit in the car. You know, probably do a little bit of work with shocks and have a little more control because of the speeds. You know, sometimes a little different air pressure. Again, a lot of it depends on the condition.
And those conditions have changed a lot from the beginning of the night to this point in the race. Just won his heat race starting on the outside. In dash, he finished second, intentionally finished second. So he would have the outside front row starting spot for the main event. He used that to his advantage once again, taking the lead of this race. And now he is covering the bottom of the racetrack, as is everybody else.
As we walk through the field, that's Jimmy Mars in the 5th spot, followed by Rick Eckert, the 2-time defending series champion, in the 6th position. Behind him is Donnie Moran, the QPI Tools Dirt Record entry. Matt Miller just went by. That's Earl Pearson Jr. And when we come back, we'll see if Scott Bloomquist can win tonight here in Hartford.
As your power steering pump ages, seal leaks may occur, causing the power steering system to lose fluid. Your power steering system may also develop an annoying squeal, and the steering may become more difficult to handle. By using Lucas Power Steering Stop Leak, you will stop the seal leaks, reduce slack in rack and pinions, eliminate the squeals and hard spots in your power steering system. It is guaranteed to stop seal leaks or your money back. Lucas Power Steering Stop Leak. It works.
Every day, AmeriDebt helps more people with money problems. People like Tom Baker.
My credit card debt was outrageous. Then I called AmeriDebt. They contacted my creditors and got my payments almost cut in half. Now I have only one small monthly bill.
AmeriDebt is a nonprofit organization that offers free consultations to consumers seeking to eliminate their debt. People like the Shaws.
Every month I pay our credit card bills, but the balances never seem to get smaller.
AmeriDebt got our interest rates reduced, and now the balances are dropping dramatically.
And what's even more amazing is our payments are less than before.
Just call this number, and regardless of your credit, in minutes you can join the thousands of people who have turned their financial lives around. People like Maria Rinaldi.
Before I called AmeriDebt, the creditors were calling every day. I thought bankruptcy was the only way out. Now I'm debt-free, and my credit rating has been restored.
Call 1-800-346-1206. AmeriDebt, helping America get out of debt.
Mondays on Speed, get inside Winston Cup. Michael, Johnny, Alan, and Kenny recap Sunday's race like no one else.
I wouldn't tell a lot of people that you're thinking like Mike.
I mean, if they like watching the crashes, that's fine with me.
On the track Sunday,
I passed Bill Elliott.
On the air Monday.
Oh, watch this. I was hoping this wouldn't be on tape.
It's going to be a drag race. They touch. Inside Winston Cup, Monday nights at 7, exclusively on Speed.
We're well past halfway of the Lucas Oil 50 from Hartford Speedway Park. Scott Bloomquist has led all but one lap of the event. The lap he did not lead was to the man who was running second, Brian Burkhofer, in the 15 car. Bloomquist in quest of his 93rd career Xtreme DirtCar Series win. Burkhofer has been to victory lane twice this year, Bloomquist 3 times. Third place, Steve Francis has not been to the winner's circle, nor has fourth place Steve Shaver. Rick Eckert in 5th has been there twice.
Bloomquist being very careful in lap traffic, wants to stay on the bottom of the racetrack, because if he gets up out of that fast groove, Burkhofer's right there to take advantage of it. So Bloomquist waiting for the openings to come his way.
A couple of moments ago, Burkhofer had the opportunity to look down hard into the inside and thought better of it, but he could be looking for something to try at the very end of the race. It's time to get down to the money laps, and Bloomquist has got his eye on the winner's check tonight.
Bloomquist working through 3 and 4. Burkhofer right with him, and not that far back, Steve Francis in the 3rd spot. The Kentucky Colonel having a good run tonight.
And if Bloomquist and Burkhofer were to somehow come together, it still might fall into Francis's lap tonight. Earl Pearson Jr. was the points leader not that many races ago, but has since fallen out of the top 5. You know, you talk to race car drivers, they've got opinions about everything, and you'll get as many different opinions on a subject as there are drivers. And we posed a question to drivers earlier and said, who would you like to be for a day?
I'd probably say the president. You know, it might not be politically correct, you know, and I understand the situation that he's in. He has to be politically correct, but man, there's a lot of things that really need changed in this country right now. And not that it ain't the best place that, you know, to be, but sometimes you wonder how things get the way they are.
Probably somebody with money, so I wouldn't have to be myself, but I think that would be the best pick.
If you could be anybody else for a day, who would it be?
Oh, Donald Trump. That's who I want to be.
I'm going to just sucker and just ask you why.
Why? There's no reason to ask why. That guy got more money than God. I just soon be him.
Well, I know 23 drivers that would like to be Scott Bloomquist right about now.
Well, Scott Bloomquist kind of closing in on Donald Trump and those earnings, I think. But he's pocketed about $1.6 million over the last 8 years, and he's got 10 more laps. If he can stay out front, he'll pocket another 10 grand.
And that would be a very successful week after winning the Show Me 100 and then the Xtreme DirtCar race at Paducah, Kentucky. When we come back, we'll carry you to the checkers.
The reason we race is simple. It's where we get a lot of our best ideas.
This Sunday on Speed. Live Formula One racing from the French Grand Prix. The stars of tomorrow on the Barber Dodge Pro Series from Laguna Seca. Trans Am racing from Cleveland. That's all this Sunday, only on Speed.
Inventors, do you have an idea for a new product or invention but don't know what to do next? Are you interested in trying to submit your idea to companies for a good faith review and in applying for a patent? If so, the Invention Submission Corporation has free information to help you get started. ISC is America's largest inventor service firm with over 60 offices nationwide. Call the toll-free number now to see how to get this information. The information includes a form for confidentiality and to record and date your idea, plus materials to explain how to submit your idea to companies through ISC's databank and how to apply for a patent. The Invention Submission Corporation even offers a virtual invention prototype service to present your idea to industry. Even if you only have an idea for improving an existing product, you'll want to call now for ISC's information.
For your inventor's information, call 1-888-837-IDEA.
Scott Bloomquist has victory in sight. Steve Francis has another top 5 finish in sight. Brian Burkhofer, sitting in the 2nd position, might be able to take over the series points lead. Jimmy Mars is back in the 5th spot. If he gives up any more positions, we could have a change in the standings.
Well, it's definitely going to be close at the end of this one if they keep on running where they are. Just a few points will separate Mars and Burkhofer, and Bloomquist will make a move too up through the point standings, even though most of the top 5 guys are right in there in the top 5 of the race.
Jeff Smith about to be lapped. In fact, we're going on board with Jeff Smith in his Diecast Digest magazine's onboard camera. Bloomquist goes by. So Jeff probably reasonably assumes that if the leader is there, 2nd place can't be too far away. Where is Brian Burkhofer? There he is. So Jeff Smith, for the first time tonight, has given up a lap, but has moved up nicely through the field and is one of our top candidates for the Advanced Auto Parts Hard Charger Award.
Lap cars have been doing a good job here tonight, staying out of the way of the leaders on one groove racetrack, and you really got to take your hats off to them. They know these guys up front are racing for a lot of money, and they've been showing them a lot of courtesy.
But Bloomquist now coming up on that lap traffic. This is where Brian Burkhofer was able to get to the lead for that one brief moment, so we'll keep an eye on that. We were just talking about Mars, still running in the 5th position, does not appear to have anybody threatening him, so he may be able to retain the points lead after tonight. Burkhofer's trying to pick off one more spot and pick up more points. We have seen the championship of the series decided by one marker. It has happened. It is close now. In fact, it is close for the lead. Burkhofer as close as he has been any time since lap 19.
He can close in on Bloomquist, but something pretty catastrophic is going to happen to the race leader for Burkhofer to make a move for the lead, because Burkhofer, like Bloomquist, he doesn't want to get off the bottom either.
Well, that may be dictated by how lap traffic plays out. Randall Chupp, a veteran of the series, he's probably got at least a sense that somebody is closing on him, but he's got his hands full to the driver to his right. And look at this, deep in traffic. Hello, hey, here I am.
The key word there was veteran driver. Bloomquist knows that Randall Chupp is a veteran, probably feels comfortable being with him, and he'll take the white flag.
And now Chupp is the meat in the sandwich. And this is the last thing Berkhofer wanted to need, but Bloomquist plays lap traffic to perfection. Can he get through turns 3 and 4 cleanly? He's had a wreck in front of him in Gastonia that he had to weave through to win. There is no trouble coming off of 4, and Scott Bloomquist wins his 3rd straight television race and his 93rd career Xtreme DirtCar title.
And this is going to tighten up the points race even more. Berkhofer with a 2nd place finish going by Bloomquist in the cool-off lap. Never got his chance to really get up there and challenge in lap traffic as Bloomquist played it like a Stradivarius.
Roby, look at this. Bloomquist going down, picking up a ton of mud. Wonder if he's got some concerns about being light going across the scales. It has happened to him before. He has been disqualified from races for being too light. We'll come back and let you know what happened after this.
Trouble doesn't stand a chance. For the best parts, people and price, we're ready in advance. Yeah, bring it on.
Every day, AmeriDebt helps more people with money problems. People like Tom Baker.
My credit card debt was outrageous. Then I called AmeriDebt. They contacted my creditors and got my payments almost cut in half. Now I have only one small monthly bill.
AmeriDebt is a nonprofit organization that offers free consultations to consumers seeking to eliminate their debt. People like the Shaws.
Every month I pay our credit card bills, but the balances never seem to get smaller.
AmeriDebt got our interest rates reduced, and now the balances are dropping dramatically.
And what's even more amazing is our payments are less than before.
Just call this number, and regardless of your credit, in minutes you can join the thousands of people who have turned their financial lives around. People like Maria Rinaldi.
Before I called AmeriDebt, the creditors were calling every day. I thought bankruptcy was the only way out. Now I'm debt-free, and my credit rating has been restored.
Call 1-800-346-1206. AmeriDebt, helping America get out of debt.
Next, 200 cars and 1,500 drivers race against the clock and each other on the world's largest racetrack. 24 hours of Nürburgring, next and only on Speed.
Sunday, Speed Channel Test Drive, Audi S4 and Audi RS6. Cars that combine sculpted lines with gripping performance. Speed Channel Test Drive, Audi S4 and RS6. Sunday at 5, only on Speed.
This race brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. We're ready in advance. And by Lucas Oil, the official lubricant of the Xtreme DirtCar Series. 24 drivers started on the half-mile Hartford Speedway Park. The outside line was the fast way around the track. On lap 17, Brian Berkhofer got inside of Scott Bloomquist, got the point. Bloomquist probably wondering what in the world is going on here. But then lap traffic started to play a factor.
Bloomquist sticking to that outside groove, tucks in behind A-Sign. They'll go 3 wide into turn number 1. Berkhofer right down on the rail on the inside. Bloomquist thrusts his way back to the point.
And that is where he stayed the rest of the night. The only caution for Dale McDowell, who broke a yoke, is done for the night. But Scott Bloomquist has been on quite a roll lately, winning $47,000 this week coming into this event. He just picked up another $10,000. Roby, we had some concerns on whether Scott made weight or not. He did, and he's with Mike Franklin.
Scott, Xtreme DirtCar Series win number 4. Man, I tell you what, 3 for 3, last 3 TV races, man. What kind of roll you on?
You know, even the Show Me 100 we went to last week. You know, I paid $37,000, and then we've been racking these up. We've had a hell of a month. You know, I tell you, I'm gonna do a little different what we've been doing. I definitely want to mention my sponsors this time. I've left them out a few times. All-Star Performance and Lane Automotive. They're right up in this area. You're really glad to come up here and perform for them. Sweet Manufacturing does all my steering, everything. We've been working really hard this year together, and I got to contribute part of this win to that too. custom race engines. It's really been great. This engine, you could see everybody out there, I'm sure you could see how great it ran tonight. So, you know, that in our shock program, our tires, you know, just everything, every sponsor on this car really, I usually get lost and don't mention them, so I appreciate them.
Scott Bloomquist picking up his 4th win of the year. In fact, in the top 6 finishers, your top 5 drivers in points right in there, so that'll tighten up the point standings even more. Donnie Moran, Matt Miller, Earl Pearson Jr. also in the top 10 in points. Jeep Van Warmer rounding out the top 10. Let's go back to Mike Franklin with Brian Burkhoff.
Scott jumped you over there on the start. You got back by him in lap traffic. Then he got back by you. Got to be a good way to end a long month.
Yeah, I mean, we tackled away, kind of chipped away at the point thing. We take it each night by night. I knew on the start that Scott was going to get the momentum. He had the outside line. I mean, I did it in the heat race, and I figured I would want to be on the outside and run down into 1 and just get the rhythm off of 2. And he had a good car. I think we had a compatible car. We run similar lap times, and lap traffic was just it kind of cost me, but who's to say I wouldn't have got lap traffic leading it and he would have got back by me. You know, it's just it's a hard game. Them guys, a couple of them were kind of squirrely out there, but Scott's a good racer. We came up short tonight, but I'm pretty proud of our team. I mean, we've came a long way in the last month.
So the end of a long month comes to a conclusion here with Dan Schleifer picking up some positions after having to basically win his consi to make the feature. Randall Chubb got lapped right there at the end. Jeff Smith, our onboard camera, came home in the 14th position. Not a good night at all for Dale McDowell. He came home in the 20th spot.
Steve Francis had a good night. Let's go back down to the pit area and get his thoughts.
Steve, you started 6th tonight, worked your way up to 3rd. Not a bad way to end a long month.
No, you know, we've had ups and downs this month. You know, it's been 4 weeks since these guys got home to work on these race cars, and they need some attention. So, long-deserved break. You know, the guys worked really hard. Mopar was really good tonight. We just dug ourselves a little bit of hole there in the heat race, let Donnie outrun us in that, and got us start back there 6th. And when you spot Scott and Brian and some of them guys that many spots, it's hard to outrun them. Thought we had a shot at them a couple times there in lap cars, and it just didn't play out my way.
We rode around in circles tonight with Jeff Smith on our onboard camera. It turns out he's our Advanced Auto Parts Hard Charger Award winner.
Jeff, you started 23rd, worked your way up to 13th. Looked pretty good.
Yeah, it was a pretty good night for us when we got in the race. We had some problems early on. We chased the setup a little bit in qualifying in the heat, and we're pretty good in the B main, and the belts come off the water pump, so we had to pull out and take a provisional, but got to rolling decent in the main.
Matt Miller came home 9th tonight. He wins the Lucas Oil Rookie of the Race Award. And as we take a look at the series points, Roby.
And it tightens up. Brian Burkhopper 16 points behind Jimmy Mars. Rick Eckert still in the fight as he is 93 points out.
But let's not count out Earl Pearson Jr. If Donnie Moran or Dale McDowell get hot, they too have a chance to climb back into the title chase. That's the story here at Hartford Speedway Park from Hartford, Michigan. Our next race is the Masters. You will not want to miss that one. For Mike Franklin, who patrolled the pits, and Roby Helm alongside, this is Mark Allen. We'll see you next time.